Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a literary theory that's like a secret key. And once you have it, it will unlock a hidden side to some of the most famous novels ever written. And I promise you, you will never read them the same way again. So, our story kicks off in the dark, spooky hallways of a Gothic mansion, right inside the pages of Charlotte Bronte's masterpiece, Jane Eyre. Now, if you know the book, you know that high up in a locked room, there's a mysterious and, frankly, terrifying woman hidden away. But the real question is, who is she, really?
For a long time, most readers just saw Bertha Mason as this monstrous roadblock for our hero, Jane. But what if that's not the whole story? What if she's not just some crazy obstacle, but a symbol, a secret code that unlocks a hidden story of female rage and rebellion?
To really crack this code, we have to go back in time and understand the world these books were born into. And let's just say it was a world that wasn't exactly rolling out the welcome mat for women who had the audacity to write.
Well, the answer comes down to this really powerful feeling that haunted so many female authors back then. Just by the very act of writing, they were breaking society's rules. And that created this huge internal conflict that, just had to spill out onto the page.
I mean, think about it. If you were a male writer, you had centuries of literary fathers to look up to, right? A whole tradition. But women? They had almost no female role models, no literary foremothers to show them the way. So they were left feeling like intruders, like frauds, absolutely terrified that the act of creating art was some kind of monstrous, unfeminine thing to do. So, this anxiety of authorship forced them to get clever. They basically learned how to write in invisible ink. They had to hide their true feelings, all their anger, their ambition, their desires, right beneath the surface of their stories. The result is what critics call a palimpsest. You've got a perfectly acceptable story on top, say a romance plot, but just underneath there's this furious, rebellious subtext burning away.
So where did all this anxiety and rage even come from? Well, a lot of it came from the totally impossible roles that society and literature assigned to women. They were basically trapped between two suffocating stereotypes.
On the one hand, you could be the angel in the house. You know the type. Perfect, passive, selfless, basically living to serve others. But if you showed any spark of ambition, any independence, or, heaven forbid, any anger, you were immediately branded as the other option, an unnatural, frightening monster. And there was absolutely no room in between.
And right there, that's the impossible choice for a woman who wanted to write. To even have a voice, to create anything at all, she had to reject that submissive angel ideal. She had to, in a sense, kill that part of herself. But society had trained her to be absolutely terrified of the only alternative, becoming the monster.
Okay, so now that we have all that context, let's go back to that attic in Jane Eyre, because suddenly, that madwoman locked away up there starts to look a whole lot different.
This is the absolute heart of the theory. Bertha isn't just some random character. She is Jane's dark double. Think of her as the physical embodiment of all the fury, the passion, and the rebellion that the quiet, proper governess Jane has to keep bottled up just to survive in her world.
And the connection between them is just stunningly direct. It's almost a one-to-one mapping. So when Jane is quietly fuming about how arrogant her boss, Mr. Rochester, is, what happens upstairs? Bertha tries to set his bed on fire. When Jane feels deep anxiety about losing herself in marriage, what does Bertha do? She sneaks in and rips the wedding veil in two. Bertha is literally acting out Jane's darkest, most hidden feelings.
She is everything that Jane is not allowed to be. She's angry, she's violent, she's sexual, and she is completely defiant. Bertha is the part of Jane that rattles the bars of the cage and just refuses to be tamed. And what's so amazing about this madwoman theory is that it isn't just about Jane Eyre. Once you have this key, you can start unlocking hidden meanings in all kinds of 19th century novels written by women. It's a game changer. Let's take Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. The theory suggests that we can read the famous creature not as male, but as a symbol of the female artist herself. A hideous progeny, right? Stitched together from dead parts, abandoned by her creator, and just filled with this incredible rage of being all alone in a world that sees her as completely unnatural.
Or how about Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights? Catherine Earnshaw is literally ripped apart by this angel/monster choice. She tries to be both things at once, the wild, passionate monster out on the moors with Heathcliff, and the proper, respectable angel in polite society. And, well, that impossible split is exactly what ends up destroying her.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? Why has this single idea been so incredibly influential for decades now? Well, it's because it gives us a completely new way to read these classics.
Now, this whole theory was developed by two critics, Sandra Gilbert and Susan Gubar, in their absolutely groundbreaking book from 1979. It gave us a whole new vocabulary for talking about women's literature. And while, yeah, it's been debated and built upon over the years, these core ideas are still incredibly powerful tools for analysis. What it really does is it turns us all into literary detectives. It encourages us to ask not just, what is this story about on the surface, but what's the story being hidden just underneath? Whose voice is being silenced here, and how is it fighting to get out?
And that leaves us with one last really provocative question. Because at the end of the novel, Bertha is dead, the mansion is a pile of ashes, and Jane marries a now humbled and disabled Rochester. But is this a real victory? Or did Jane only get her version of happiness after her rebellious, monstrous double was destroyed, after her own rage was, quite literally, burned out? It's a question that keeps us reading and rereading between the lines.